It seems I've been deceived for 3 years. I was certain of Nicholas's affair, and I just felt all my strength drain away. I had suspected it, but I never thought it would actually be true. In my hands, I held Nicholas's phone, filled with messages from Lisa. It appears he's been cheating with her for 3 years. What was the point of our marriage all this time? I felt betrayed. Panicking, I knew I needed to gather evidence, so I saved several of their conversations to my own phone's album. Then, I quietly packed the bare essentials and left the house, heading to my parents' house. The moment I saw my parents' faces, which I hadn't seen in a long time, I just collapsed, completely drained. My name is Rose Brown. I am 31 years old. I work as an office worker at a small local construction company. Everyone at the company is kind, and we have a good relationship with each other. I was enjoying my work every day. However, there was one thing troubling me. It was my husband, Nicholas. Nicholas and I got married about 5 years ago and have been living together as a couple. But Nicholas has completely changed since we first got married. We met when we were in high school. I wanted to study something specific, so I went to a high school a little away from home. Though it was still within commuting distance from my parents' house. I was terrified I wouldn't make any friends until I started high school. All my junior high school friends were going to local high schools, and I was the only one away. I could meet them anytime I wanted, but I knew high school life would be busy. When would I ever have time to settle down and hang out? With the excitement of learning what I wanted and the anxiety of whether I'd make friends, I started high school. But that anxiety soon vanished. I got along well with a kid who sat near me, and from there, my circle of friends expanded. Thanks to that, I never had to eat lunch alone or move between classes by myself. Some people prefer to be alone, and others hate not being alone, but I like talking to people and sharing time with them. That's why I was happy to be with friends. Before I knew it, I was a sophomore in high school. Then I met Nicholas. At first, I didn't really talk to Nicholas. I just saw him as another classmate, but we ended up being paired for a project in one class, and suddenly, we got a lot closer. Hey, do you have time during lunch break? I've got something I want to talk about. Lunch break, huh? Sure, I'm free. Even though we hadn't spoken before being paired, we cautiously started to close the gap between us. Initially, we only discussed the project, but soon we were able to talk about personal stuff. It didn't take long for us to start dating. It happened that Nicholas's house was in the direction of the station I used, and neither of us was in any clubs, so we commuted together. On weekends, we dated, and while at home, we kept in touch by messages and phone calls, just like any ordinary couple. After graduating high school, I went to college and Nicholas got a job, each of us starting a new path. We had less time to meet than during our high school days, but we made plans whenever possible without overextending ourselves. Treating every date as precious, I really felt lucky to be dating Nicholas. Though I was a college student, I vaguely hoped that I could marry Nicholas someday. I made it through college without any major fights with Nicholas, and I received a job offer from the construction company where I now work. Honestly, it was a bit of a stretch to say that the job utilized what I had studied, but I enjoyed the office work and, more importantly, there was little stress in my relationships with colleagues. For years after I started working, Nicholas proposed, and we decided to get married. Actually, before I started job hunting seriously, Nicholas had said he wanted to marry me after I graduated from college. I was thrilled, but I told him I wanted to work as a professional and save some money before getting married, and asked him to wait a bit. I even said he could break up with me if he felt like it. I didn't really want to say that and knew it would hurt if he did leave. But I didn't want to drag Nicholas around with my selfishness. However, Nicholas waited for me. When he proposed, I remember how happy he was. Naturally, I was overjoyed too. Once engaged, we talked about what we wanted to do after getting married, where we wanted to go, what kind of home we wanted to build, and our future in general. I myself was so excited about our life together and couldn't wait to officially tie the knot. Our talks progressed quickly, and we got married. We didn't have a wedding ceremony, but we were blessed by our parents, relatives, friends, and colleagues, and I was over the moon. Hey! Why are these clothes lying around here? I told you to pick them up, didn't I? Those are your clothes, right? You should be able to pick them up yourself. After we got married, Nicholas continued to cherish me as he had during our courtship. However, about 2 years into our marriage, Nicholas's attitude changed drastically, and he began to treat me harshly. I thought we had a good relationship, so I was shocked by his sudden change. I'm busy, you know. I have to go out again. You're just going out drinking again, aren't you? So what if I am? We're married now, you could at least stay home a little, couldn't you? But my wishes went unheeded. Stay at home a bit? What good does it do for me to be at home? You're such a hassle. Honestly, I'd rather go out drinking than be here with you. Hey! In the end, Nicholas left the house. I felt utterly helpless. I picked up the clothes Nicholas had left behind and thought about everything that had happened. The Nicholas I married would never have done this. He understood my feelings and never did anything I disliked. Even when we argued, we would take our time and talk things through to resolve it. Why? What happened? I couldn't figure out why Nicholas had changed. I started to feel something was off when he stopped saying I'm home as he used to. Welcome back. You must be tired today. Yeah. Normally, he would definitely respond with I'm home. But one day, he just stopped saying it altogether. At first, I thought he was just tired and tried to talk about it. Hey, have you been okay recently? You seem tired. No, not really. But Nicholas didn't seem tired. However, his replies felt cold, and I felt uneasy again. From then on, Nicholas's behavior continued to change. Ignoring what I said became a daily occurrence. He would leave his laundry all over, not bother to clear his dishes after meals, and completely neglect his personal responsibilities. I'm not Nicholas's mother. He should at least take care of his personal chores. Thinking about this, I talked to him about it many times. Could you at least put your laundry in the basket? I'd appreciate it if you didn't leave it everywhere. Does it really matter? You'll clean it up anyway, right? But if I don't, the house will get dirty. Nicholas knew I would clean up and wasn't taking care of his surroundings. Well then, that's fine. Stop spouting nonsense and just clean up, will you? What? What kind of way is that to speak? I'm not your mother. All right, all right. Yes, you're not. My feelings didn't reach him, and Nicholas just became more and more selfish. Then one day, during this strained life, Nicholas suddenly said something. Actually, it had been a while since he had initiated a conversation about anything substantial. I listened to Nicholas's words with a mix of happiness and anxiety. I'm still hurt that you turned down my proposal once. Actually, I'm mad about it. Huh? I do feel bad for turning down the proposal once. But, although it sounds harsh, I did tell him he could break up with me if he had any issues. It was Nicholas's decision to wait without breaking up with me. Being confronted with this now really puts me in a tough spot. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm mad. Who turns down a proposal, really? I even proposed before you started job hunting. Being a housewife would have been way easier than working. Yet, you wanted to save money and work. Isn't that just selfish? I do feel sorry for turning down the proposal, and I'm sorry if that hurt you. But I did say you could break up with me if you felt strongly about it. I asked for a bit more time, but it's true I've been dragging you along with my needs. Yeah, I was dragged along because of you. Waited and we barely saved any money, and you're not even making much. Seriously, waiting was pointless. You should consider my feelings too. Nicholas began to vent as if a dam had broken, criticizing my faults. He said things like I should have found a better paying job since I graduated from college and that I should be more grateful since he waited for marriage. It was headache-inducing just listening to it. But what do you want me to do now? Like I said earlier, I did say you could break up with me. But you chose to wait. And now, to say you're hurt and mad after all this time is just hard to handle. What should I do? How can I make it up to you? Frustrated by Nicholas's constant complaints without offering any solutions, I ended up speaking emotionally. What do you want from me? I did take note of your complaints before and tried to address them, right? Just complaining all the time makes it tough for me too. Maybe you want something done, but I don't have any special powers, and I can't read your true feelings. After saying all this, Nicholas sighed in frustration and walked away. Hey! At least listen to me till the end. Shut up. In the end, Nicholas didn't actually want me to do anything, he just wanted to complain. It seems like he only views me as an outlet for his stress. His behavior never changed after that. Bad salary, more attention, listen to what I say. Whenever I argued back and it didn't suit him, he'd just run away from me. Continuing to live with Nicholas in this state. Honestly, the thought was quite depressing. But the thought of divorce also feels like too much trouble, so I just dragged on in this marriage. However, Nicholas's assignment alone to another place was decided, and this lifestyle changed drastically. His assignment wasn't too far, but it was a tough commute from our home. He had been there a few times for work, but now he was going to work there full-time. We're pretty much done here, aren't we? Yeah, sure. Nicholas seemed happier about being able to leave me for his assignment. But it didn't particularly hurt me. Rather, I started to hope he would leave sooner. It's late, but I've come to realize that I no longer have feelings for Nicholas. After Nicholas left for his assignment, my life changed significantly. I could do whatever I wanted without anyone complaining, and it was a relief. No matter how carelessly I cooked or cleaned, there was no one to scold me, and it was liberating. I haven't talked about Nicholas with my parents. In fact, other than long weekends, we hadn't even met face-to-face, just occasional contact through phone or messages. Since my parents live close by, I could meet them anytime if I wanted, and I could talk about Nicholas if I chose to. However, I didn't want to worry my parents, so I never felt like I could share my troubles with them. How have you been lately? Yeah, just the usual stuff. Occasionally, hearing my mom's voice over the phone was so comforting that I almost wanted to vent about the past. But I held back, not wanting to cause them worry, and just made small talk with her. That's right. Nicholas is on assignment alone, isn't he? Why don't you come home for a bit? Yeah. I'll think about it. Okay. If I went back home alone, I'd probably end up breaking down and crying to my parents. Thinking that, I just couldn't bring myself to go. Besides, Nicholas wasn't there. I've been holding back for so long, now I just want to live as I please and relieve some stress. I was planning to enjoy my time alone, thinking about all the things I wanted to do by myself, when an unexpected turn of events occurred. Surprisingly, Nicholas started coming back home. It wasn't often, just a few times a month. He seemed reluctant to be there, so I was shocked the first time he returned. Hey, you should have told me you were coming back. Huh? Why do I need to tell you? It's my house, I can come back whenever I want. Is it inconvenient for you when I'm here or something? It's not that, but... Then don't start with me. Nicholas barged into the room, undressed as usual, and sprawled on the sofa. There you go, leaving your clothes around again. I'm tired. If you have a problem, you clean up. Besides, the room's a mess anyway, a few clothes around shouldn't matter. Before you nag me, clean up the place yourself. Despite not listening to me, Nicholas started doing whatever he wanted around the house. As he said, this house is his too, so I couldn't really complain too much. Every time he came home, he would complain to me and continue doing as he pleased. Hey! Dinner! Hurry up! I didn't know you were coming back, so I didn't prepare anything. If you're hungry, maybe go out to eat. You're really useless, aren't you? It's your job to have food ready no matter when I come back." And with that, he grumbled as he got ready and left the house. He comes back frequently, but if this keeps up, I wish he'd just stay at his assignment. It must be stressful for him to live with me. If that's the case, I sometimes wonder if there's any point in us being married, but bringing up divorce would just lead to a fight. So, it feels too troublesome and I never actually take any action. However, I accidentally discovered a secret about Nicholas that made me decide to finally take action. This secret came to light one day when Nicholas came back home as usual. He must have been tired because he fell asleep on the sofa as soon as he got back. While I was watching TV near him, I noticed his phone light up on the table. I glanced over and saw a message from a woman I didn't know. If it had been just about work, I might have thought the message was from a colleague and not given it a second thought. However, the message was suggestive of a physical relationship, and I couldn't believe my eyes. At the same time, I realized I had been cheated on, and I felt all strength leave my body. At this point, Nicholas and I had been married for 5 years. Somehow, I managed to move and quietly picked up Nicholas's phone. Using his fingerprint, I unlocked it. As I checked the content without waking him, I found numerous messages from the same woman. Her name appeared to be Lisa. Tracing the messages back, it seemed they had been involved for about 3 years. I panicked, my mind going blank. But at the same time, I thought I shouldn't miss this chance. If I could secure evidence of his affair, perhaps I could get a divorce without much trouble. Trembling, I went to grab my own phone and took photos of the messages that could serve as evidence. Then, I quickly packed the bare minimum and left the house. I headed to my parents' house. I left a note for Nicholas, saying I had to go to my parents due to an urgent matter. I'm sure he doesn't care about me anymore. He probably won't contact me. In fact, he might even be glad that I've returned to my parents. I never imagined he had been cheating on me for these 3 years. Feeling a profound sense of emptiness, I thought it would be okay to tell my parents about Nicholas since we were going to divorce anyway. After all, they would find out sooner or later. With their help, I could really take Nicholas down. A few minutes later, I was in front of my parents' house. I couldn't hide my nervousness as I was about to see my parents after such a long time. I walked up to the door and rang the bell. A few seconds later, my worried mother opened the door.
"What's wrong? At this hour?"
I remember it was just past 8 p.m. when I left the house. Surely, any parent would be shocked if their daughter suddenly came home at night. The moment I heard my mother's voice, I just collapsed right there. Just, a lot has happened. Oh my. Are you okay? Here, lean on me. Come inside for now. Leaning on my mother, I entered the house. From our exchange, he must have realized something was seriously wrong. As we entered the living room, my father looked worried and turned his gaze toward me.
"What happened?"
She just collapsed all of a sudden. "Give me your bags. Here, sit down." Supported by my parents, I sat on the sofa and caught my breath. My parents watched me worriedly. After I had calmed down a bit, my mother started rubbing my back and spoke up. "Can I ask what happened?" "Yeah. I'll talk." I told them everything about Nicholas's behavior and actions, and how I came back home because I found out he was cheating and decided to divorce him. It seems I've been deceived for 3 years. After I finished speaking, I muttered that to myself. Looking at my parents' faces, I could see they were angry. Then, almost in unison, they said, "We'll make him regret this, and even if he apologizes, we won't forgive him." How dependable my parents are. With their support, I started preparing for the divorce. I wished I had talked to them sooner. Because I left a note, Nicholas never contacted me. I stayed over at my parents' house that night, and we planned our strategy. We decided to hire a private investigator to look into Nicholas's actions at his assignment. "We'll cover the cost of the investigator."
"Oh, that's too much. I can't accept that."
"It's fine. We want to help, let us do this." Feeling guilty, I accepted my parents' kindness. I'd repay my parents for the investigator's fees and then some. They might hesitate, but I wanted to give back properly. The next day, we took immediate action. After hiring the investigator, I returned to our house to search Nicholas's room. On days when Nicholas was home, I carefully observed him, desperate to gather any evidence without him noticing. But it's Nicholas. I found no substantial evidence, except occasionally unlocking his sleeping phone to check its contents. Nicholas continued to be harsh with his words to me. If he doesn't care about me, it can't be helped. Yet, despite his apparent infatuation with Lisa, I wondered why he wouldn't just divorce me. While I had many questions about his actions, what he really thought of me was what troubled me the most. Weeks later, the investigator provided evidence, and we were ready. With this evidence, I could confront Nicholas and hopefully finalize the divorce. However, since I never knew when Nicholas would return, arranging a discussion was challenging. Trying to set a date was itself unsettling. As my family discussed various approaches, my father made a suggestion.
Why don't we go to his place? Us? Go there? Didn't the messages say anything? Like when he's home or meeting his mistress?
While reviewing the messages I had secured, I found Nicholas's schedule with Lisa for the following week. It appears that day marks their 4th anniversary together.
In a week? They're meeting for their anniversary. It mentions a restaurant and other details. Looks like they're meeting in the morning. If we wait at her place, Nicholas will likely come to pick her up. The investigator's report mentioned the mistress's address, right? It should be close to Nicholas's assignment location.
Yes, Dad, you're right.
Even if we ask for a discussion, he probably won't listen. We might as well force the conversation. Let's corner him.
Hearing my father's plan, I agreed. Indeed, if I asked for a talk, he would likely make up excuses to avoid it. A bold move might be better. Mom also seemed to agree with Dad's idea. Thus, we decided to go to Nicholas's place of assignment. A week later, the three of us, my parents and I, headed to where Nicholas was stationed. We waited near Lisa's house from early morning, expecting Nicholas to arrive. It was just past 9 a.m. Nicholas was supposed to arrive at Lisa's place at 9:30 a.m. While thinking about how early they were meeting, we waited a few minutes more. Soon, a familiar figure appeared. It was Nicholas. If everything went as scheduled, they should come out of the house soon. We waited for the two of them to emerge. A few minutes later, as expected, Nicholas and Lisa came out of the house. "Let's go," my father said calmly to my mother and me, then we approached them.
"Looks like you're having a good time." "What?"
Naturally, Nicholas was quite shocked to see us. Lisa, too, widened her eyes and clutched Nicholas's arm tightly.
"Long time no see, Nicholas." "Yeah, long time. There's something we need to talk about." "Can we come in, Lisa?" "What? Why do you know my name, and how do you know where I live?"
For Nicholas and Lisa, it must be shocking to see us right in front of them when we were supposed to be far away. It's understandable that they would be frightened.
We'll explain everything about that too.
Maybe they guessed the only reason we would come all this way was to discuss one thing. Nicholas looked a bit irritated and urged Lisa to let us in.
"Please, Lisa." "What? Why at my house?" "Look, it'd be a hassle to talk outside, and besides, we'll replace any sofa or anything they've sat on."
"Really?
Okay then."
Though Lisa seemed reluctant, she let us into the house. Nicholas's comments confirmed he no longer cared about me. But since I no longer had feelings for him either, I wasn't particularly hurt. Without wasting time, we started the discussion. Because I wanted to get the divorce over with quickly.
"Let's get straight to the point.
Nicholas.
You're cheating, aren't you?"
Nicholas didn't respond to my question.
"Why are you silent? You're having an affair with Lisa, right? After all this time, are you still trying to come up with an excuse?" "Shut up. What I do on my assignment shouldn't matter, right? It's not like I've troubled you. Not troubled me. You've caused me a lot of trouble. And by the way, I have proof of your affair. Don't try to deny it, just admit it.
With that, I laid out the evidence from the investigator and the proof I had collected on the table.
What? Gross. Seriously? The reason we know Lisa's name and address is because we had an investigator look into it. I've been thinking about divorcing you. Let's settle this now. What? Why divorce? Don't joke with me.
Does he really think we can continue our marriage after all this? I really can't understand what Nicholas is thinking.
Why are you questioning that? You don't care about me anymore, right? That's why you were cheating? Well, that's... Not denying it means yes, I guess. No, it's not like that. I love you. This was just a fling.
Nicholas, perhaps still thinking he could salvage the situation, kept making excuses about still loving me and claiming the affair was just casual. My father became angry at Nicholas's words.
What? You say you still love her after all this playing around. That's a lie. If you really loved Rose, you would never have cheated. Well...
Nicholas averted his eyes, desperately trying to come up with excuses. What surprised me was that Lisa wasn't angry at Nicholas's words. Most people would be upset if told their relationship was just a fling.
Nicholas. Enough is enough, okay? I don't know what you were thinking when you started seeing Lisa, but you are married. Don't you understand that you can't just play around forever?
Yeah, sorry. Seemingly overwhelmed by our confrontation, Nicholas lost all his bluster. I decided to press further, revealing another one of his secrets.
Nicholas, you've been lying to Lisa, haven't you? What? Lying?
At the word lying, Nicholas visibly panicked.
No, there's nothing. You've been lying to Lisa about your academic background and job title, right? You also told her you owned a home, but it's a rental, isn't it? Why are you trying to impress her so much? What? Why would you? You bragged about it several times in your messages, didn't you?
Apparently, Nicholas hadn't expected his messages to be seen. He was speechless and just opened and closed his mouth without making a sound. We came to the house on the day they were meeting because I had seen their messages. I knew what time they would meet because I had read their exchanges. After all, the evidence I had just handed over included documents with photos of their messages. It's too late for him to be shocked now.
Lisa, Nicholas actually only has a high school diploma. He holds no significant position. He's just a regular employee. But he told you he graduated from a prestigious university and worked as a manager. You lied to me? No, it's not like that, I mean...
I cut off Nicholas's attempt to explain and continued.
It's really pathetic, you know? It's bad enough to have an affair while married, but then to lie about it to the other woman is just the worst. Exactly. It's unbelievable. Just wait a minute. So what if I lied a little? Look, I'm a man, it's not bad to boast a little, right? Being with a man of higher status makes a woman feel better too.
Instead of apologizing, Nicholas started to justify his behavior with his own theories. But my father quickly cut him off.
Are you serious right now? What are you thinking? Decent men don't need to pretend to be something they're not. If you can't get attention without lying, that just shows what kind of person you are. Also, you're underestimating women too much. What do you mean makes them feel better? Don't be so disrespectful.
Faced with the truth, Nicholas finally fell silent. He continued to move his mouth but couldn't find the words. Now that he had no allies, I wondered what Nicholas would try to argue next. While we waited for his next words, Lisa unexpectedly began to reveal the truth.
Actually, I've always disliked Nicholas. What?
Everyone there was stunned. And naturally, Nicholas was the most confused.
What? You dislike me? Why?
Nicholas was in turmoil, repeating the same words and pressing Lisa for answers. Yeah, I dislike you. That's really it. Lisa said this with a half smile, then continued to press the issue.
You're just a creepy old man, and you don't get personal space at all. You always brag about weird things and complain about your wife. If it's so bad, why don't you just divorce her? But then you say you want to marry me? The creepiest thing was when you said you wanted children with me. So why did you stay with me for 3 years?
Money.
You'd buy anything if I hinted at it. Even if I just mentioned a product name and said I was thinking about buying it, you'd surprise me with it the next time we met.
You really were just a cash cow. Well, I had suspected as much. If she disliked him, the ongoing connection was likely because of money. Seeing Lisa dressed in high-brand bags and clothes made sense now. But then, I wondered where Nicholas was getting the money.
Nicholas, where did the money come from? I can't imagine your salary covers it all.
Debt. What? I was in debt. I had suspected he couldn't afford it on his salary alone, but I wanted to hear it from him directly.
You haven't made me a co-signer without telling me, have you? No, definitely not. That would be a crime.
It was a relief to hear that he hadn't crossed that line. As long as I'm not a co-signer, it doesn't matter who is. Having been harshly criticized by Lisa, whom he adored, Nicholas was completely disheartened. But that wasn't the only secret she had been hiding.
Well, I might as well say it now.
I have a fiancé.
A fiancé? What are you so shocked about? You're married and still started something with me. Nicholas, you were just a way to pass the time. My fiancé is busy with work, not like you, always available to text back immediately.
Lisa, perhaps feeling liberated, revealed that she had a fiancé. The atmosphere froze again.
Is that true? What, you think I'd lie about that here? Do I look that stupid to you? That's not what I mean. But, like I said before, you have a wife and yet you were with me. It's really hypocritical to be shocked. It's just so selfish.
Nicholas fell silent, struck by the truth in Lisa's words.
I was going to break it off when your wife showed up, but finding out you lied made me even more determined to end it.
So, don't come near me ever again.
No, wait, so suddenly.
Suddenly?
As if I could continue anything with you after this.
You're too delusional. Nicholas looked to us for help. Maybe hoping we'd persuade Lisa or offer him some support. But there was no way I would help him at this point. My parents felt the same.
What do you expect from us now? I really didn't think he was this kind of man.
Wow, you really got told off. Lisa, seemingly enjoying the moment, laughed at Nicholas's pathetic situation. Too bad, Lisa's dumping you.
But we can't help you either. We came here to divorce you. So, let's just end our marriage as well. But, I mean, we're already breaking up.
So what?
My feelings for you will never return, and we'll never get back together. All you can do now is agree to the divorce and division of property. Division of property?
Perhaps he hadn't thought about it at all. I assumed he had considered it since he was the one who initially wanted a divorce.
I don't want it. That's your own problem.
Whether he'd handle it didn't matter to me, as long as he paid. Nicholas couldn't make any excuses. Fine, we'll get divorced. With that said, I signed the divorce papers. Thus, Nicholas and I were set to divorce.
Just curious. Why did you keep coming back home intermittently? You were on assignment alone, and if you didn't love me, you didn't need to come back at all.
Right before leaving after our discussion, I asked him something that had been on my mind. Nicholas replied, I thought if I stayed away too long, you might suspect I was having an affair. Basically, he felt guilty. Despite knowing having an affair was wrong, I was surprised he was aware of it, yet relieved I finally got to ask.
If you hadn't come back, maybe your affair wouldn't have been discovered. You really shot yourself in the foot.
I was convinced of Nicholas's affair when he returned home during his assignment. I wondered if he could have continued his relationship with Lisa if he had stayed at his post, and I ended up saying so. Hearing this, Nicholas looked regretful, as if he admitted his mistake. After that, my parents and I left Lisa's house. Considering they didn't follow us out, I assumed Nicholas and Lisa might have been discussing something alone. But the last expression I saw on Nicholas's face was one of regret. After our discussion, I instructed my lawyer to get divorced from Nicholas. Nicholas hesitated to accept it and grumbled about it. However, he finally agreed. A month after the divorce was finalized, I received an email from Nicholas. Curious, I opened it to find that he was pleading for us to get back together. He had the nerve to write clichés like, "You're the only one for me." I couldn't believe he could say that. Lisa had been dumped by her fiancé and had apparently asked Nicholas to reconcile. But he had refused. He probably wanted to show he still had some dignity, but his words didn't resonate with me at all. I immediately responded that it was impossible and then blocked his contact. Half a year later, I'm still living with my parents and focusing more on my work. Since the divorce, I've been able to dedicate more time to my work, and I'm happy about that. I have no interest in what Nicholas or Lisa are doing. As long as they don't harm me, they can do whatever they want. They are strangers to me now. I was able to go through the divorce because my parents supported me. I wouldn't have thought of confronting him at his assignment alone. Although my parents said they didn't need it, I gave them some money to cover the investigators' fees and a little extra. However, I still feel I haven't thanked them enough. Yes. Maybe I should get them a gift. With that thought, I started researching potential gifts.